I'm Judy Shaw for NYSE Floor Talk. Joining me today is Sharon Bowen. She is chair at the New York Stock Exchange. Sharon, it is wonderful to have you here. Thanks for joining me on Floor Talk.
Judy, thank you so much for having me today.
So it's Women's History Month, and you are making history here at the New York Stock Exchange. You are the first woman and the first person of color to become chair of the New York Stock Exchange. What does this mean to you?
So obviously it's a privilege and an honor to chair the New York Stock Exchange, even if I weren't a woman of the first person of color. But frankly, being the first woman and the first person of color really makes this even more special to me, because it's my hope that when young boys and girls see people who look like me in this role, that they too can dream about being chair one day.
Oh, yes. So now you've been chair for 1 year, a little over 1 year. So tell me, what are your priorities as we look to the second year?
So you may remember one of my priorities was to help our companies who are different, they're along the ESG paths, different stages, to help them with the environmental, social, and governance aspects of the operations. And so I want to build on some of the things that we did to address that. For example, we launched our board advisory council made up of CEOs who nominate women and minorities who are board ready. And I'm really proud to say that that candidate pool is now over 500 people today.
Oh, wow.
And we place over 35 candidates as well. Likewise, we recently announced our Sustainability Advisory Council. Again, we know climate sustainability is top priority for many of our listed companies. And so we wanted to give them a forum to share ideas and best practices. And those are just two examples of how we do things here. We're solutions-based in terms of our approach to things, as opposed to, having mandates for our companies. One new initiative that I really want to focus on this year, I didn't get quite a chance to do it last year, was to focus a little bit more on financial literacy and making sure that the next generation and that women and the underrepresented understand our stock markets, understand the beauty of a place like this, the wealth creation, capital raising, the jobs that we create, to make sure that they not only are aware of us, but understand the power of our markets and how they can be, advised and informed participants.
Okay. So now your career has been very, very interesting. It's spanned across many different industries. You've been in law, you've been in finance and government. Now, was there any moment in your life, any pivotal moment that led you on your path?
So I'm not going to go too far back because there are a few pivotal moments, but I will say in my 35 or so years as a corporate lawyer doing transactions, during the time, during one of the downturns in our market, when there was no M&A work, we would train ourselves to become restructuring lawyers, and where I had to learn how to pivot. That became extremely important when I had the privilege of serving our government for the first time, when I was asked to serve as vice chair of the Securities Investor Protection Corporation. Just so happened that was during a time of some of our largest bankruptcies. We had Lehman Brothers, Madoff, MF Global. So that bankruptcy expertise, that me, the former M&A lawyer, really came handy. It also gave me an opportunity to use all of my skill sets, and that moment in time also changed me in the sense that I saw people lose their retirement accounts and their jobs. And so when I was asked the second time by the president if I would serve as the first African-American commissioner of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, this was at the time we were implementing Dodd-Frank. You recall, that was there to address many of the disparities that created the financial crisis. And so I would say those two moments especially were really pivotal.
Definitely pivotal moments.
Yes.
So now tell me, as you look back in history, is there one woman that you admire the most? I'm sure there's probably more than one.
Wow, there's definitely more than one. There are many. I come from a family of really strong women.
Yes.
So obviously I'm motivated by, inspired by, and admire the women in my family. But also I would talk about attributes instead. So I would say the attributes that those women have in common, they're resilient. They think outside of the box. I mean, they're solutions-driven people. They believe in giving back and helping others. And so I would say more of those values that I really admire.
Those are great values.
Yeah, they are.
So now tell me, who's been the biggest inspiration in your life?
So that's a hard one too,
So many.
right? But, as I reflect, this is Women's History Month, and we just, on the eve of Black History Month, and so I'm obviously aware of all of those people who kind of came before me, and in the civil rights movement and women's suffrage, who kind of paved the way for people who look like me to be able to sit where I am today. So I'm always cognizant of the fact that I would not be here today, but for those people on whose shoulders I actually frankly stand today.
Okay, so tell me, what advice do you have for young women who are starting off their careers?
I get asked that question quite often. I wish I could say there's a magic answer to all of it. I usually tell people to find out what you're passionate about, what excites you, that makes you want to get up in the morning, and then learn from that. Engage people who may be in that field, read about them, be flexible, because you may discover over time with your career, there'll be ups and downs and pivots, along the way. And so I tell people to try to focus on building your skill sets. Look at a career as a skill set building opportunity. Always leverage the power of networks.
Yes.
That's really important. Equally as important is to be not just a mentor to others, which is really, really important, but also being a good mentee. So it kind of goes both ways. I tell most people only think of, sponsors and all that, but you can reach back to that next generation as well. And then I would say the last piece of advice I tell people is treat it like a marathon. You got to pace yourself. There'll be moments where you may have to slow down a bit, or you may find an obstacle along the way, and it's okay to pivot, take a different path. You just never know when that opportunity may arise. It could be at mile 25.
Oh, such great advice, Sharon. Great advice. So now how about for female leaders, fellow female leaders? Do you have any advice for them?
Well, obviously we're talking about leaders. They got there for a reason.
Yes, they did.
So one piece of advice is, keep doing what you do well, and build on that. Make sure you expand your own personal board of directors. These are the people that you call up to say, is this an opportunity I should take? Should I even raise my hand? And I would say, raise your hand. Speak up and tell people what you want and what your goals are. Don't assume that people are going to notice you're doing a great job. Make it known that, you want that CEO job the next day. In that respect, give back to the next generation to make sure there's a pipeline behind you. And most importantly, show up for each other. I think it's really important that we women support each other as well.
All right. Well, Sharon, amazing advice. I'm definitely going to be taking some of this
Okay,
advice
good.
myself. And wonderful to talk with you here during Women's History Month.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a delight.
Thank you.
Yes.